Hey everybody, welcome back to the Splinter Twins. I'm Kyle, that's Mark, and today we're going to be talking about new cards in Magic.
Oh,
Yay! I'm very excited. We're going to be breaking down each of our top 5 cards that we are going to think is or we think is going to be the most impactful to standard. And you're probably wondering, like, lots of people make YouTube videos like this. The reason why ours is the best is because as these cards progress through standard, when it comes time for Bloomborough in the fall, we're going to go back and we're going to look at the cards that we selected, and we're going to give each other shit. We're going to give each other grades, and we're going to see how good are we actually at predicting it. We're not just going to be throwing shit out there. The other one of us is going to hold each other accountable, be like, are we actually doing a good job picking
are we
cards?
bad at this? Also, I think you'll have a particular problem with Bloomborough because of your furry kink. So I think I'll be able to really make up any ground that I lose here with
Just
that.
pick all the
So
sexy cards. I don't have
we'll
that, by
say,
the way. It's important to
nah, no,
know.
you denied it too late. I
No, but
think
for
is for
real,
everyone in here.
if they
It's too
if they
late.
do red wall crossover, I am gonna lose my shit. But we're
That's
not here to
that
talk
is fine.
about Bloomborough. We're
Yeah.
here to talk about Outlaws. Pew pew pew. Thunder
Pew
Junction.
pew. One caveat I want to say is we're not picking any of the fast lands. Obviously, the mana is going to be sick. Boros, especially getting their fast land. Those are boring. They're going to be excellent. Everyone's going to play them. We're here to talk about fun, big cards beyond the basics. So that's just one thing. So if you see us missing those, let's get on with it. Do you want to go first or second?
Okay, let's get into it. We're gonna rank these in the cards that were least sure to most sure. So first off, I think a card that definitely warrants a top 5 spot is Dust Animus. I think this card was that on your list, Dust
Nope.
Animus. I think this card is the truth. It is a 1 and a white creature spirit with flying, and then if you control 5 or more untapped lands when you cast Dust Animus, it enters with 2+1/+1 counters and a lifelink counter, making it a 4/5 flying lifelinker, and it has plot for 2. So it's the same plot cost. This card, I think, can do a lot in an aggro-centric meta. Just having this card come out when you have 5 or more untapped lands on turn 5, this being a 4/5 lifelinker, just even if you need to get it on the board because you look over and you see your opponent's playing Boros mana, it's a 2 mana 2/3 flyer. Like, that's just good. That's just a really solid rate. And I think there are plenty of decks that can take either like part of or all of turn 2 or part of turn 3 off and play this knowing that, like, yeah, okay, whatever, man, that
Nope.
Kumano might be catching me, but I'm going to be swinging back at them with a 4 and a 5 booty lifelinker to close out the game. I think this card is the truth, and I think it's really good.
No, see, you said the wrong thing there. You said take turn 2 or 3 off in an aggro deck. That doesn't make any sense. You can't do that. Mono red, mono white, they want to get you dead before you play your 5th land. That's the key to this. Maybe this could find a home in like a mid-range deck or maybe a control deck. I think it's a great card. Don't get me wrong. I mean, read the text box. It's fantastic. But I don't think this belongs in aggro. I'm not really sure where this card
No,
has
I
a
don't
home.
think it's in aggro. I think it helps you beat aggro. I'm talking
Oh,
about
okay.
in a mid range
Yeah.
deck. I'm saying, like, okay, yeah, you might be
But then
taking 3 in the mouth, but
here's
dude,
the
the
problem with
lifelink
that.
makes all the difference.
Lifelink is key. I'll give you that. But here's the problem. Taking turn 2 or 3 off against an aggro deck when they're going Swift Spear, Felidon, pick your poison on the 3-drop. It's going to be nasty when they squee you in the balls.
But how the secret sauce I haven't put in, how dope is this card with temporary lockdown? Like, you just plot it away, and then you temporary lock down all their early game plays if they had any, and then on turn 5 you pop this bad boy out after they've lost their 1-2 and maybe 3-drop or turn 3 plays. Like, I really do think that there is a mid-range to control white shell, almost like big white, like we had a couple standards ago, that this card slots really nicely into. It's just too sweet of a text box.
My number 5 is going to make you miserable because I am picking the Harvester of Misery. This black 5-drop is incredible. It is an absolute powerhouse. Removal on a body? Sweeper on a body? Let's fucking go. This card is stacked. Yes, I know it is 5 mana, but I think you might think to yourself, hey man, there's too many good 5-drops, there's too many good in a mono black shelf. But look at Virtue of Persistence as a amazing example of having powerful removal in the early game and then a bomb in the late game. That card sees all the play. I think this card stacks up great against all the stupid Boros shenanigans we're seeing with all the tokens, just saying -2/-2 all over the place. I think this card could find a home in mono black. I think it's ready to go right out of the gate. I think this is a very powerful card.
Brother, it also goes really good with the aforementioned Virtue of Persistence, because
Yes,
you
it
can
does.
discard this card and then bring it back later. So, turn 2, you're killing something with this, turn 3, you're killing something with that. And then, by the time you get around to turn 7, bringing this thing back and cleaning up the rest of the board, like, pretty sexy. It's a pretty good card. I I I think it would be better if it was like a 4 mana 3/4 or 4/3 or something like that. Like I'd take the hit to
For
power
sure.
and toughness if I could get it down for 1 mana. But having this card be a good early game card, this was on my short list. This would have been in my honorable mentions. I think it's a solid card.
Let me tell you something else, though. We live in a Masker Girl format, Kyle. This is a possible situation. We put Masker Girl down. We got Virtue of Persistence. We got this guy. We're just all of a sudden giving everybody the minus minus. And Toxrill stays in standard for another 6 months. God damn it, let me have my fun. Minus minus tribal. Let's go.
My next card is probably a card I would bet that you think that you have higher and that a lot of people have higher. I think it's good, don't get me wrong. I just don't think it's top 3, and that's Aven Interrupter. This
Oh,
is
yeah.
a 1 white bird rogue with flying and flash key, and when it enters the battlefield, you target a spell, and that spell becomes plotted, and then spells your opponents cast from graveyards or exile. That's any spell, by the way, not just the one that you force them to plot, costs 2 more to cast. The obvious instance here is that you've got a full fat board and your opponent is coming in to sweep, and then you throw that stupid sunfall back in their face, and then you swing in for lethal. That's the dream. Here's the thing though: how often do decks like that want to leave 3 mana up? So I don't think it's necessarily like a Boros card, but I think that we saw this effect be really, really powerful with something like Elite Spellbinder, and I think that this could make the difference. And you just the flash capability of it, you don't have to just take turn 3 off, look at the 2 sweepers in their hand, take one of them and just cry because you know Elite Spellbinder and the rest of your board is going to die. Being able to play this on the opponent's turn, super clutch.
Yeah. Uh, Getting in the hand is for little schoolboys like Elite Spellbinder. Getting on the stack is for Big Bird here. This card is my number 3. This is going to fuck up standard. Like, this is
Oh, it's your number 3
absolutely.
too?
It's going to bring back mono red. Mono white. It's going to bring it back and do some really nasty things because Flash is so key here to just be able to say, no, I don't think so, right? Because how many times did we see Elite Spellbinder, like you said, buy just that little bit of time? And what's really key, which I think separates Elite Spellbinder from maybe some other cards that kind of have this effect to delay the cards, it is really powerful to put a flyer on the board also to get in even more damage, right? That 3 power was really key on Elite Spellbinder, but I think the flash clearly makes this thing better. The 2 white pips make it a little tougher to cast, but hey, we're playing this in mono white all day anyway, and being able to just bounce that sweeper back just to give you that 1, maybe 2 more turns to just get in. I think this card's absolutely going to be in there. I had it as my number 3. I think it's super powerful. It's a great card.
Well, don't forget though, it's not like it is plot, so it's not the mana cost. Like you're not paying 7 for that Sunfall. You're just gonna pay 2 the next turn. So you're gonna pay 7 total. But they do get to cast that plotted card without
Yeah.
paying its mana cost on the later turn. Noted though, they also can't play it that turn. So if there's a key piece of removal, and even if they have mana up, they're not playing that card because that card's plotted, and you have to play that on a later turn. So even just play like they tap out to play a Sheldred. Right? They tap out to play a Sheldred, and you just throw this back in their hand. Yeah, they're going to get to play that Sheldred for 2 next turn, but now you're delaying their turn, maybe taking them off curve, and like Mark said, you've got a 2/2 with evasion on the battlefield, and you don't have to swing through that Sheldred this turn. It's cool for pushing in a lot of damage. I'm excited about the card.
Yeah, I don't know how much more the tax, I guess we'll call it, is going to affect, but you know there's going to be fun games where that's going to just mess people up when they try to go in there and do other stuff with plot doesn't look very good, so I'm not really sure it's going to be messing with plot, but hey, there's graveyard shenanigans that could be happening, right, with flashback or something, right? People could be getting silly with that. I think this card, I looked at this spot
The
kind
fact
of
that it
between,
adds other exile and
Yeah, why not?
That's gravy. Cool, yeah.
But I was looking at this one, and to me it was between, in this kind of spot, between this and Grand Abolisher. And that card is really powerful, but I think this flash ability, right? Like, obviously having your turn protected is really powerful, but being able to have interaction, I think, is more powerful, and I think it's going to see more play. So we just talked about my number 3, but my number 4 is going to bring back an archetype that I just so sorely miss, because this card is the secret sauce that's going to make green happen again, and that is Smuggler's Surprise. We are going in with the big boy Trojan horse, and this is the grown-up Coco that we all need to happen to just put the biggest, dumbest boys out on the table. If you haven't seen this card, it is absolutely busted. It's got the spree mechanic, and why this card is so powerful, and we'll talk about this, spoilers, in a little bit again, is the versatility, right? It does incredibly powerful things when you have that mana, right? You have a 1 green to get in, and then you can choose from a menu, right, of these other cards. And obviously, the thing that jumps right to mind is the 4 and a green plus the additional green. Just say, boom, boom. Hey, it's pretty good. Storm the festival. What if I could do that when I want, right? Just throw those cards out there, put them onto the battlefield. It's just kind of nasty to be able to just surprise 2 creatures. Let's go. That's really powerful. Obviously, being able to give everything hexproof and indestructible, we've seen how good that is, and in a format where people are doing a lot of removal, really, really powerful. And then, of course, the 2 things being able to mill, that's just gravy. I think this card is what we need in mono green to make it a thing.
You picked the wrong green card. You should have picked the Hydra, probably.
Nope. Nope.
That Hydra is probably as good. Or I would have even accepted the new
Bristlebud Farmer?
Gitrog Monster would probably be the card with a green pip on it. That card was also on my honorable mention. I dig what you're saying, the versatility of it, but I'm not seeing this card bring back mono green. I think there might be some goofy combo-y shit you can do with it. Don't get me wrong, but 6 mana is a lot for that second mode, and that means you have this card plus 2 other creature cards.
We're ramping
that you want to do. Yeah, man, like that's magical Christmas land. I've got 6 mana at some first of all I'm alive, and then I have 6 mana and 2 like Atroxas or an Atroxa and a Toxrill or something that's gonna be like worth cheating out, and then my opponent doesn't have a sweeper. It's just dude, I'm not seeing it. I don't think
that's why if they have a sweeper, that's fine, because we have this whole secondary mode that gives you indestructible and hexproof.
You just cast it to put your shit on the board. You just played 6 mana.
We play 4 copies, boy. This is not 2012 anymore. Big dumb creatures aren't gonna win Magic.
Where you have the ability to put creatures on the board with this mode and protect them.
We gotta overwhelm.
This is not seeing play. Other than your janky imagination.
No, I had on here like Goldvein Hydra, Bristlebud Farmer, right? All these super just juiced green cards that are incredibly powerful, but it's not 2012 anymore. You can't just have really good creatures. You have to be able to just do some explosive shit out of nowhere. This card, combined with its versatility and its ability to just go bananas in the late game, is going to make mono green happen. We're going to ramp in the early game. We're going to be playing creature, and then this thing's going to come off the top and just body people. This is mono green's revelation. Let's have it.
You're nuts. Okay, my number 3 does have a green pip in it, but it's also got a white pip in it. It's my Unicorn Seraphic Steed. This card is pretty good, brother. Like a 2/2 with first strike and lifelink, and then whenever it is basically saddled by a saddle 4, then you create, when it attacks, a 3/3 angel creature with flying. I think that we might be able to there's enough dumb big green creatures that you can play on turn 4 turn 3 that can get you the saddle, so it can immediately swing on turn 3 by that saddle thing, and then the same turn you put 4 power on the board plus 3/3 flying. This card is dope. Granted, like, oh yeah, okay, dies the Doomblade. Okay, well, so does every creature. It's just 2 mana. Like, the fact that this card is so low to the ground and has the ability to... This is a must-remove creature for 2 mana. Otherwise, this creature will absolutely take over the game.
It's not 2 mana. It's a green and a white mana. It's already specifically a gold card. And that 4 saddle is a deal breaker. I'm sorry. That's just way too much. That's just way too much to put out there. This card is not going to see any serious play.
Green 3-drops that people are willing to play right now. You've got the Toxic Dude, whatever his name is. There are plenty of green cards that you can put in this deck that can do the thing. And you don't even need to necessarily do it on turn 3. That's great. That's awesome. But the fact that this has First Strike and Lifelink, like, I don't even mind, especially trading this card, if it means I get to get a 3/3 Flying Angel. Like, I'm telling you, dude, this card is sweet. This card is sick.
So I guess right, if you take bloated Toxitime or whatever, right, and
bloated Contaminator, right?
Bloated Contaminator, right?
We'll put it up on the screen.
The only time you're gonna want to saddle this card with that is like when that card ETBs, right? So you play that thing on turn 4, and then you do it, but you're just gonna have to keep doing that. Otherwise, you're taking power off the attack to saddle this thing up. This is like a vehicle, right? It's not a real creature if you want that effect. Otherwise, it's just kind of like a French vanilla 2/2 with a little extra espresso, because I guess it's got 2 keyword abilities. Like, that's cute, but it's not enough. Not nearly enough.
Nah, I'm very confident when I don't know if this card is gonna for sure be the nuts or anything like that. This card might need some more things to get printed to help it along. Like, I'm not expecting Unicorn Tribal or anything like that, but the right standard, especially if they're looking at more inventive things like that, like the fact that you can put a 2-drop on the battlefield and your opponent's like, I have to burn removal on that thing, that is immediate red flags for good card to
Okay.
me.
For your top 3, though, you got to be able to tell me, what deck does this go into?
I think that there are plenty of green-white creatures right now. I think we might be able to make like a a green-white mid-range aggro deck coming out of this set. I think there's a lot of stuff. I mean, maybe even Abzan, honestly, with how good the Gitrog monster is. Like, I don't know, man. I'm really excited to play with this card. I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if this survives in a Wandering Emperor meta, a Farewell meta, but I think that if we get enough pieces and parts, I'm just telling you, by the time 3 years from now, when this card rotates, this card is going to see itself in multiple decks and is going to be a card that when your opponent taps a green and a white mana, you're going to be like, oh shit, this is going to be a thing.
There's no chance. Hot take. My number 2 card, and it's very appropriate because we're twins. You know, someone would say we are a reflection of each other. I think Fleeting Reflection is an absolute slammer in a couple of decks. This thing... Memist? Are you out of your fucking mind?
If this was the funnest 5 cards, I'd believe you, but no.
Oh, Kyle, you sweet, sweet, dumb bitch. This card is going to haunt you. Do you understand what's... Okay, here's why this card's disgusting, right? It is specifically going to slot into 2 decks and be immediate upgrades. And you probably know the one if you've been on the internet. People have been clutching their butt cheeks together because they are so afraid of what this is going to do in Rot Priest. In Bant Toxic, which is already a arguably S tier deck in the current meta.
Oh, you are an idiot. Yes. That's a C tier deck.
You are stuck up in best of 1 far too much, sir. Go look at tournament results. Bant Toxic has been taken over the last month. It's a really powerful deck, and this thing is going to slot directly into there for a couple of reasons. One, obviously, hexproof is something they want. Target the Rot Priest, do all those things. But then also the extra nimbleness of being able to just temporarily clone something, right? You just become their Sheoldred and eat their Sheoldred back, and you gave them a toxic counter for it. Like, that's disgusting. There's so many broken things this can do in that deck. But here's one I have not seen people talk about. Here's a little extra sauce for you. You know where else this card absolutely slots in? And I hate to say it, it's going to be a ripper in mono blue. Here's why. What kills you in mono blue? The Haughty Djinn. What protects you in mono blue? The Tolarian Terror. For 1 mana, Kyle, all of a sudden that Tolarian Terror, which already has Ward 2, so it's protected against removal, just turns into a fucking 10 genie power and just flies over the top and kills you. Just bam, you're dead. Oops, there's 2 genies. You weren't ready for it. This is going to slot into those 2 decks and be immediate upgrades.
Yeah, I'm not saying this is a bad card. I don't think it is. I just think it's too niche to guarantee one of the top 5 spots. Like, there's a lot that has to go right in the situation. You know, your opponent can't have removal at the wrong time. You need to be doing something with creatures on the battlefield. I agree with you. I think Toxic and Mono Blue are the likely places for it. But I think there's going to be a lot of times where you're like, oh, I'd just rather have a counterspell actually right now. This is a little too cute.
I think when you want top 3, you want something that's got a home. And to me, this is the epitome of ready to go day 1.
All right, for my number 2 card, a little budget friendly here, going down to an uncommon, and that is Shoot the Sheriff. That is destroy non-outlaw creature.
Are we picking best flavor text? Is that why you picked this card? Is that what's happening?
It's pretty good, but look here, man. What's the best assassin, mercenary, pirate, rogue, or warlock people are playing right now? Breaches, maybe?
Breaches, yeah.
Basically, this is a bet that what the cards that have been good are going to continue to be good, which means this thing is a Doomblade with no downside. Like, most decks, again, I can't guarantee, like, I think, like, the first 2 weeks is going to be the worst this card ever is people are playing more of these Outlaws from Thunder Junction, but especially, like, when the newness wears off of this set, there's going to be so many people you sit across the table from, and you're like, I literally don't have that creature type in my deck. That's literally a 2-mana kill whatever you want. That's going to kill Sheoldred. That's going to kill Atroxa. That's going to kill fucking I was going to say Wormcoil Engine, but Phyrexian Fleshgorger. This thing kills so many impactful creatures all across standard, and that's only going to increase. I doubt we're going to get, a fucking outlaw, an
You know
outlaws
what
deck that's
else
going to be relevant.
kills all those same creatures for the exact same mana cost, Kyle?
What is that?
Go for the throat. Why don't you just go for the
It
throat?
doesn't kill. It doesn't kill Flesh
Oh, that
Scourger.
one Flesh Gorger. Yeah, when I see that once every, I guess, 100 games, I'll be sad. I Do you play this in addition in the decks that play it? Are they playing this in addition to go for the throat, or instead splitting the difference? How are you expecting
So
this
in
to
best of
balance
three,
out?
I think you can balance it out in the sideboard if you want to bring in more more removal. I think this is a card where you definitely like it's gotta find its time in the meta to be able to be like, okay, now is the time. I'm gonna be able to use this thing because go for the throat's gonna stay in. But you just look around in 6 months or a year, and you're like, these are literally irrelevant creature types. This is just free. Like there's not going to be a standard, and I'm sure I could think of other examples. There's just not going to be a standard where there's not going to be at least one good artifact or an artifact creature that you want to kill. The fact that you can, I'm saying it's more likely
Yeah.
that there's going to be relevant artifact creature types, and I would say that's definitely true right now. That then there's going to be this weird outlaw sub theme going on. Like, I don't think you're going to have to be like, oh shit, this is a dead card because they have a fucking mercenary or whatever. Whereas
Yeah.
there have been times where you're like, oh, that artifact creature is going to beat me to death now because I'm running 4 go for the throats.
I mean, they are both pretty niche, right? So, like, I guess if you're making a gamble, like, on what happens less, we're talking about, like, how often does that artifact kill your go or, deflect your go for the throat? Like, I don't know, 1 out of 20 times, maybe less than that. And this is maybe going to be like 1 out of 30 times it's a dead card. So, like,
And guess what sees ubiquitous play? Go for
yeah,
the throat. That's what we're
I
trying to predict
guess.
here.
Yeah, I guess
Is this
so.
card going to go in
Maybe it
a
just slots in
shitload
over.
of decks all across the format? And I say the answer is yes.
My number one card is what they call, it's not shoot the sheriff, Kyle. This is called big boy removal. That's what I got here. It's the final showdown.
Same number
This
one.
card,
What the fuck, Wizards? Why would you do this?
is broken. If you think you are sad, if you think you're sad when you go to attacks and someone plays a Wandering Emperor and you lose one of your creature, how about get fucked? Lose all of your creatures. What do you think about that? This card, it's not going to see play. This is where I might be. I was going to say, I'm not caveating it. This will warp the meta. We have to play around this card now. It is Settle the Wreckage round 2. This card is beyond busted. Not just because it is a 6 mana instant sweeper, right? I said instant sweeper.
That'd be good enough.
It's all these other modes where it's just like, damn, for 2 mana, like if I could just stop this Shelly trigger from killing me my upkeep or my draw step, I could win, but I couldn't. That versatility might be able to be the thing that saves you. Being able to get that indestructible, that might be the thing that saves you. But really, to me, the reason why this is so much better than anything else is that this is really going to, again, what are we looking for? Slot in immediately. One of the best decks right now in best of 1 and in best of 3, Azorius Control. Can you imagine the ball ache whenever you just sit there and you think to yourself, oh, that first main phase, not good enough. I won't sweep the board yet. Instead, I'll just maybe hold up a counter spell if something really weird happens. I'll just draw cards at the end. I'll play a freaking Wandering Emperor. Like, I just have all this mana. This is draw go Magic coming back to standard.
Yeah, it is disgusting. Like you said, it would be bad enough if it was a 6 mana instant speed sweeper. But the fact that you can do other weird niche things like cause creatures to lose their abilities, the fact that you could protect your own creature if you really wanted to, maybe like you've got a really stupid big Wandering Emperor token, or you've got a big Exile Incubator token.
You just need your flyer to survive one more attack.
Sure, but it's so backbreaking. And like I said, Azorius Control is not going to be hurting for this, and it just disgusting. You pass to your opponent, and you have 6 mana, 7 mana up. And they're like, oh, okay, I see. He's got a counter spell over there. So they play out a measly 2-drop to try to get around your No More Lies or whatever. And you're like, no counter. And they're like, oh, well, then let me just slam my Imbanane's Recruiter and try and kill you. Up, you're all done. You're all done.
You just wait for the Imbadane, and then you kill it, right? Now, obviously, that's like the pinnacle example, but same goes for mono red. Same goes for all these aggro decks that are playing these hasty creatures, your, Gold Vein Hydras, right? You just sit there and you wait and you think this attack phase isn't good enough. I'll just draw cards or do whatever to you. I've seen some people say that we're going to be saved from this card because it takes 3 white pips to destroy all creatures. No.
Look at how good the mana is in standard right now.
Look at how good the mana is. Do you remember the card that got banned just recently? Invoke Despair was 4 black pips, and the mana base was weaker back then. It was, we had
In they're
more
playing that in
problems.
Grixis.
Right. Yeah. So this card can easily slot into, and the reason why, like, if it was just for Azorius control or something like that, like if this was like a gold card, that would be one thing. But we're gonna see this in just like everything that's like not mono white aggro. If you play white and you want a sweeper, I'm actually kind of happy that there's now a choice, like a reason not to play Sunfall, because I think there's just far too much exile removal in this format. So that's good, I guess.
Oh, if this exile, I'd probably uninstall the client. I'd be like, I
Yeah,
give
I'd be
up.
like, I'll see you guys in 3 years or whenever this rotates. No,
Whenever it
that
gets
would be
banned.
banned. I honestly think this is like we talked about like our scoring rubric. I think this is a strong contender to get banned in a year. Like
Yeah.
I think people are going to be because it kind of has that emperor problem where it's just like, oh look, 6 man is open. They have 3 white. I wonder what's gonna happen. Can I play around it? Oh, they just drew all the cards, and I'm totally behind
Yeah.
now. And
I
now we're just
can't
kind of this
afford
grindy game.
I can't afford to pressure, or I can't afford to add more creatures to the board to pressure them, and I can't afford to not pressure them because they're just
Yeah,
going to sit there and do a counterspell and draw me out of the game. And then like, yeah, I mean the play pattern around this card is as piddly as like I'll attack you with what's on the board and hold the stuff in my hand. Well, that's what blue white control wants you to do. Be like, okay, cool, you're not going to attack me with anything. I'll remove that one creature, bounce that one creature, and then use my other 4 mana to, draw cards or whatever. And then you're like, all right, now I have more cards and you're further behind. And yeah, it's
I want to
disgusting.
play this with Hullbreaker Horror and just be. I mean, I think like control having
That's a
its
bit
time
too
in the
far,
shun.
but whatever.
Nah, I don't know, man. Just get silly with it. I think like that's the kind of silly shit you're going to be able to do with this because it's so powerful. I think we've had a lot of really aggro meta, especially in best of one, for a long time now because of how push these creatures are at the 1 and 2 drop slots. I don't mind the fact that control is seeing its time in the sun. I just think destroying my creatures on my turn with a sweeper is just like a ball breaker. If this said sorcery instead of instant, obviously it wouldn't be a mythic and it probably wouldn't be near as good, but like we wouldn't be having this problem, right? It's not the versatility, it's not all the power that it has. It's that instant that just is going to just blow people up. And I think, yeah, we're going to see in a few months people get quite sick of this card pretty quick.
Well, let us know what you think. What do you think the top 5 cards are that are going to see standard play? What is going to define the meta out of Outlaws Thunder Junction? What is the card from this set that we're all going to be talking about years from now, being like, we didn't see that coming?
More importantly, who had the worst take? This is the actual contest because we're going to hold each other accountable. We're coming back with Bloomborough and we're going to get Kyle out of the furry suit. Oh, I'm sorry, scaly suit. And we're going to bring him up here and we're going to have some bones to pick. I don't know if that's offensive to your people if I use that word that way. Are you okay with that? I want to be sensitive to your proclivities. My point is, please ridicule Kyle for shoot the sheriff and let him know that smugglers surprise is the truth. That's what I need you to do down there in those comments.
Not going to happen.
It's happening!
Thank you guys. Appreciate you watching. Leave us some comments. If you like the video, consider liking, subscribing, and we will see you guys. I think we're going to have another standard video or two out before Outlaws or Thunder Junction, but you can bet we are going to be back when the set comes out. 2 videos a week, hitting it hard and trying to figure out who was right and which one of these cards are good and what is everybody else playing. So we'll see you all soon.